In this video, we're talking about two types of motivators, the carrot and the stick. And these are both very powerful motivators that can move you forward in life, and learning to work with them effectively can help get you unstuck and get you moving in the direction towards what you really want. So what are each of these? What is the carrot? What is the stick? The carrot is the prize, the benefit, the happy outcome, the gold star, the pride in achieving what you set out to achieve. The carrot is that happy outcome that dangles ahead of you and lures you forward in life. The stick is the consequence, the reprimand, the disappointment. It is the thing that you hope to avoid that pushes you forward in an attempt to get away from that negative outcome. So simply put, the carrot dangles ahead of you. This is the thing that you want. This is the happy outcome, and that lures you forward, while the stick chases you from behind. This is the consequence. This is the pain that you are hoping to avoid, and both of these are helpful in moving you forward. And the idea of the carrot and the stick first came from this idea of donkey jockeys and how they would motivate their stubborn donkeys to go where they wanted them to go. And one jockey would motivate his donkey with a stick, and he would hit the donkey and get him to move forward in that way. And the other jockey was motivating his donkey with a carrot dangled ahead, and that would get the donkey to move forward in the direction that he wanted. And I'm sure we're all familiar with this concept, and a lot of us are very motivated by avoiding this stick. And this makes sense, right? No one wants to have that unhappy outcome. No one wants to experience pain. And so we're very aware of these things in our life, and we spend a lot of time hoping to avoid them. But the problem with this approach is that we spend a lot of time thinking about what we don't want or what we're trying to avoid, and not nearly enough time thinking about what we do want and what we want to draw us forward in life. And we spend so much time in fear of the stick and the consequences that we lose track of our true north. We lose track of what we really want in life. We lose track of, what carrot do I really want to go after? And think about it this way. If someone started chasing you with a stick, how much time would you think about where you want to go and what you want out of life? You probably wouldn't be thinking about that, right? You just go in any direction as long as it was away from the person with a stick. So having an anywhere but here mentality as we hope to avoid that stick can really land us in places that we don't want to be. You can blindly run somewhere that's worse than your current situation, or you can spend all that time and end up in a different but equally as disappointing situation as the one you just left. Another thing that can happen is when we are focused on the carrot, we are focused on chasing that outcome that we want, and we can start to chase the wrong carrot. We can start to chase things like fame or external validation or praise rather than a sense of internal rightness and a sense of fulfillment and satisfaction in what we're doing. And we get a lot of this type of pressure from society. We're told what to do and how to do it right and what timeline to do it on. And if we do all those things, people will praise us, support us. People will be able to understand what we're doing and will generally be accepted. We're told, go to school, do well in school, get a degree, get a good job. We have this whole timeline for life and a way to do life well that society impresses upon us. And so we can end up chasing what society thinks is the best carrot to chase and end up really unfulfilled and lost in life because we didn't check in to decide, do I really want to be going down this path, or is this just what people are telling me to do? And this can be really motivating because on the other side of that is the stick as well that society kind of chases us with. So it's like, if you don't stay on track, people are going to think badly of you. If you don't stay on track, you won't be successful. If you don't do what we say, your life is going to be a mess. It's things like that. And it's this praise on one end and then consequences on the other end that we hear and grow up as we are immersed in this kind of North American narrative about what a good life looks like. And again, if we go back to this idea of focusing too much on the stick and spending a lot of time avoiding these negative consequences, this can be a really effective form of motivation, but it can also be really stressful on our nervous system. And I have an example of this from my own life. When I was really stressed and burnt out and unhappy at work, it was hard for me to get up in the morning. I was the person that would press snooze until the last possible moment. And then the time would come when I knew I absolutely had to get up and get out of bed and get ready and get to work, or I was going to be late. And I spent a lot of time focusing on avoiding the stick if I did not get moving. I didn't want the negative consequences of being late for work. And that is things like, being reprimanded at work, or even kind of being judged by your peers at work, and people see you coming in late and they're kind of like, oh, this person always comes in kind of late. Those are the types of things that I was motivated to avoid at that time, but I spent so much time thinking about the negative consequences and kind of stressing about that it was a very stressful way to live. And I was not motivated by the carrot, so to speak, during this time of my life, which I think would have been a lot more soothing for my nervous system, and I wouldn't have been living under so much stress. And of course, we always have to consider the opposite. So if so many of us are so motivated by avoiding the stick, what about those of us that are motivated by the carrot, or even overly motivated by the carrot? They're only focused on the dream, they're only focused on the positive outcome, and they aren't thinking about the negative consequences. Well, this doesn't really work either. If you're only motivated by a dream and you're so caught up in that dream that you are maybe unwilling to compromise or unwilling to change your plans in a way that will allow you to actually land that dream, to actually see it come to fruition in reality. If you're just blindly chasing a dream forever with no grounding in reality that those consequences can help you see, then maybe that dream never actually happens. And having a little bit of that motivation to avoid the negative consequences can help you make the necessary concessions that are needed to actually make it happen. But I think for most of us, that is not the case. Most of us are far too focused on the stick and avoiding negative consequences, and we almost don't want to step out of line or do anything that could incur those negative consequences. And so for a lot of us, we need to find more balance when it comes to actually going more towards the end of the spectrum, where we dream a little bit more, where we want to be motivated by a carrot and less by the stick. And with this really comes this attitude of learning to take the good with the bad. And I think that for a lot of us, we kind of have forgotten that we're already doing that in our lives. When I wanted to change my job or my career, I was already taking the good with the bad. And so when I was thinking about making that leap to a new career path, I was too focused on the, potential negative outcomes, and I needed to learn to take the good with the bad. Changing careers, becoming self-employed, of course that has risk, that has potential negative outcomes, but it had a lot of positive things that I wanted out of life. That carrot that I wanted, it had a lot of those things. And so it's learning to focus more on a balance of both the carrot and the stick, focus on the consequences of inaction, but also focus on what you could get out of this at the same time. So if you do have some sort of vision, some dream, some idea that you're thinking of pursuing, but you're struggling to find the motivation to go after it, then maybe you are focusing too much on the stick end of the spectrum here, and you need to think about how good pursuing that carrot could be, how good it could be to pursue that vision or that dream or that idea that you have, and allow that to motivate you to move forward rather than thinking about the consequences, which can be very demotivating. So there's two things that you can do to start to focus more on the carrot end of the spectrum and less on the stick end of the spectrum. And the one thing that you can do is to really immerse yourself in this idea. Like if you do have an idea that you are kind of wanting to move towards, but you haven't found that motivation yet, have you really immersed yourself in what that outcome could bring you, how it could improve your life, or how it could change your life, or how it could lead to all the satisfaction and fulfillment that you're hoping it will lead to? And that's why you had that idea in the first place, right? You're kind of motivated to make a change, and that's why you had this idea. And you really need to just get deeper into that idea and really imagine how it's going to change your life, and really, make that a juicy carrot, make that something that you really want to go after, rather than just like a vague idea that you're not really motivated to go after because you don't fully understand what it's going to do in your life or how it can check all those boxes for you. And the more you do this and the more you allow yourself to be a little bit more delulu and really imagine like the best, orangest, brightest, freshest carrot ever in front of you with that little delulu mindset, that's really going to be super motivating. The more you let yourself think about like all the ways in which this could change your life, that's where the motivation comes from. When I was wanting to switch my career, I started thinking about, if I switch careers, if I become self-employed, how is this going to improve my life? How is this going to check boxes? How is this going to lead to satisfaction and fulfillment? And for me, I had identified that freedom was really important to me. I really wanted to kind of be the master of my own destiny. I really wanted to set my own schedule. I wanted to be able to work from anywhere. And I knew that all of those things were possible if I made this leap to self-employment. And I knew that if I stayed, I wasn't going to have those things. I was going to be stuck in the 9-to-5 corporate environment, and I wasn't going to have the freedom and flexibility that I wanted. So I was really imagining this life of, here's all the positive things that I want, and here's the negative things that I don't want with my current job, and just allowed myself to get really excited about all the positive changes that could happen when I made this change in my life. And so another thing that could be going on here is that you have not found the right carrot. So maybe you have an idea, but it's not that enticing, and that's why you're not that motivated to move forward. It's like, yeah, that'd be kind of nice, I guess, but you just don't really care. It's just maybe an idea that you came up with because yes, you're unhappy in your current situation, and yes, you're trying to think of ways to change it, but you just haven't quite landed on the right one yet. And so, it's just not that appealing to you. It's like you're dangling the carrot and it's like, I don't really want it. It's like, whatever, and so you don't actually move forward. And so the second thing that could be going on is that you need to keep thinking and keep brainstorming and keep exploring and find the carrot that is actually going to entice you. And again, it could be either that you haven't found the right carrot, or you could have the right carrot and you have to go back to the first step and spend more time imagining it and really seeing how great this carrot could be, and get into, that hope and that excitement that'll allow you to move forward. And so it could be one or the other. Maybe you don't have the right carrot, or maybe you do, and you just need to really plump that carrot up and get excited about it. And so this really ties into this whole idea that, like, if we go back to the job thing, right? Like, staying in my old job had a lot of benefits. It had its own carrot, that was like, stay here, here's the good pay, the stable job, the interesting work, whatever, all those things. And so you need to find a carrot that you are motivated to go after more than the carrot you're already eating. So it's like, if you want to switch your job or you want to switch your life, then you need to find something that you want more than what you already have. Because yes, there are always benefits in the life that you have, or, you wouldn't be kind of staying there. And so if it's your job, your current job has a lot of benefits, and it also has its own negatives. And so you need to find something that is more enticing than what you already have, or something that can reduce the negatives. So it's like, yeah, my old job had a lot of benefits, but it also had a commute that I didn't love. And I also had to go into the office 2 days a week, and I didn't want to do that, right? And so maybe if you're looking for a new job, it has either a shorter commute or no commute, or it's fully remote and you don't have to go into the office. And so it's really finding this combination of things that you really want and also improving on the negatives in one way or another. And again, I want to remind you that It's so important to focus on the carrot and not just the stick. You don't just want to focus on how miserable you are, because that can lead to that anywhere but here mentality. And I have an experience of this in my own life. When I was laid off back in 2016, I was really worried about finances. I was running out of money, and I sort of had this anywhere but here mentality. I would take any job that would hire me because I felt like I did not have the flexibility or the time to, look for a dream job. And so I was really focused on anywhere but here. And I ended up getting a job that I, disliked even more than the job I was laid off from. And so I was in a situation that ended up being worse because I was focused too much on avoiding negative consequences, which was, going broke and missing payments on bills and stuff like that. And I was like, anywhere but here, any job that'll take me, I'll take it. And I ended up being really unfulfilled in that job. And so the next job that I ended up getting was a great combination of things that I wanted. It was a dream job on paper, and it would allow me to get away from my current job. So I was really motivated forward in that instance by pursuing the dream job, but also getting away from the job that I was unhappy with. And that combination is really powerful and really motivating to move you forward. And if it wasn't that specific combination, I probably wouldn't have left that job because I'd only been there for a few months and it would have looked bad on my resume. And, they say don't job hop too much or you'll look flaky to employers. But I just had that perfect combination of avoiding negative consequences and getting something that I really wanted, that I was able to find the motivation to move forward and apply for that job, and I ended up getting it and I enjoyed it for a time. But then I ultimately decided, I want to be self-employed, and I started down that whole path. And I keep harping on this whole idea of, finding that carrot that you really want, that really enticing carrot, because if you don't really want that carrot, you're probably going to overemphasize all the kind of negatives that come along with it. And so for me, in this example of the dream job, it was a dream job, right? It was in a city that I really wanted to live in. I was going to be able to move to that city and do the type of work that I really wanted to do. And so that was very enticing. And it was so enticing that it overshadowed kind of the negative aspects of making this move, which was having to quit after only like 4 months or 5 months of working at my job, which was just awkward and uncomfortable, having to move to a whole new city, having to pack up all my stuff. Like there were some hassles involved, and I wanted those benefits so much more than I was worried about the hassles. And so it really helped me find that motivation to move forward, because I was like, I really want this outcome and I'll do what it takes to make it happen. And I'll just have to go through the discomfort and the hassle in order to get it, because I really want this carrot. That's how it can work when you find something that you really want in life. So what can start to happen here when you don't really want that carrot, that idea, whatever, that dream that you're thinking of, is you'll start to overemphasize the negatives that come along with it. So if I didn't really want that dream job, if I didn't see it as a dream job and I didn't want to really live in that new city, then I would have started to overemphasize all the negatives that came along with it. I would have been like, this job is okay, but I'm going to have to move. I'm going to have to drive across the country. I'm going to have to get a new apartment. I'm going to have to do all these things. And that sounds like a lot of hassle for something that I don't want very much. And at the same time, you can start to kind of overemphasize how good your current situation is. So let's just pretend that I did not want that dream job, and I would have started to say like, this new job is fine. I know how to do the work. The coworkers are cool. This is a great company, blah, blah, blah. I would have started to kind of overemphasize the positives of my current situation, and I would have downplayed the negatives. I would have been like, well, the commute's not that bad. I'm used to it. And, that one project manager that I don't like, I just don't need to work with him that much. There's all these things that would have kind of gotten all out of proportion. And so it's really important to find something that you really want and allow yourself to like live in the dream of it a little bit, be a little delulu, so that you can really kind of overemphasize the benefits and allow that carrot to draw you forward. And that's how you really overcome all of these challenges and find that motivation to finally move forward. So to summarize, consider all the ways in which you are kind of living by the stick, the ways that you're avoiding negative consequences and kind of overemphasizing negative outcomes, and how that may be keeping you stuck and be keeping you from finding the motivation to do the thing that you want to do. And on the other hand, make sure that you really want this thing that you're thinking of doing. If you can't find the motivation, then maybe you just don't really want it that much. Or maybe you do want it, maybe you do have the right idea, but you haven't spent enough time really exploring it and seeing how great it could be, how it could really move your life forward, check the boxes, make you fulfilled and satisfied, and how it can really be that dream outcome for you. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's been helpful and you've taken something away from it and you can start to think about your situation in a new way and find that motivation to move forward and make the change that you desire. And if you did enjoy the video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up and consider leaving a comment. It really helps these videos with the algorithm and helps other people find the channel and the videos. So I would really appreciate if you would do that if you feel called to it. And if you enjoy this type of content, then consider subscribing for weekly videos like this. And with that, I will see you next week.